DALECO and I wear a lot of hats in here. We're entrepreneurs, we're business owners, we're coaches, we're trainers. Because it's a two-person operation, sometimes we have, other people help out, like when DALECO has to travel, and some of the fighters here will take over the class and take over. But as far as like the staff that's here on a consistent basis, overall, it's myself and DALECO. We run the shop, and these are the only two employees that work here. Because of that, we're also the janitor, we're also the maintenance team, we're also the PR department, we're also the receptionist. Like we wear a lot of hats in here. And depending on what situation we're in and what environment we're in, sometimes those hats come off, sometimes they stay on, depending on what it is. But the one hat we never get to take off is the fact that we're 40-year-old men and that we're 40-year-old fathers as well. On top of that, those hats stay on 24 hours a day, no matter where we are, what space we're in. The significance of that is as we produce things we have to put on our page to keep the page going, to keep, it engaged with a potential audience and the current audience. We like to highlight the things that we do, like physically. We want to be able to highlight what we as 40-year-old men are still capable of doing. DALECO doesn't do it as much. I wish he would, because he's still nice with the bag, with the rope, and how he keeps him in shape. He just doesn't put himself on camera as much. I mess with him sometimes, but I'm not stupid. Like, he's still extremely skillful in fighting and what he could do. I'm bigger than him, but I'm not stupid. But you see mostly me on camera depicting what I do physically, and a lot of the stuff I do isn't anything to sneeze at. It isn't anything to get right at home about, and that essentially is like what I want to have that be for people in their 40s, especially specifically a 40-year-old male, like what you're still able to do and not get caught up in like what your birthday is or what your birth age is. That attitude, which we meet with a lot when we meet with people, is like blaming the age of what you can and what you can't do, and assigning that to your ability is just not going to be a very beneficial thing to attempt. Because when we meet people sometimes, and like a lot of people, the age brackets are in our age bracket and up, and they like to come in and say, well, I'm 40 and this and that, so because I'm 40, I can and cannot do that. And you can miss us with that, and you miss us with that for a good reason, because one, unless you plan on dying that day, you're going to keep getting older. So that attitude is not going to help you going forward. Two, like the biggest one, it's very dismissive of your behavior and the behavior that you had control over, and the behavior that was, well within your ability to alter and change and do different and have different choices. It just dismisses those things you want to hold to yourself as you get older, as you do in life. Like, you want to be able to have choices. You want to be able to have control. And if you just dismiss those things because of how many birthday candles you keep blowing out, you're not going to be successful with that. And this sometimes is a hard thing for people to swallow when we meet with people, sometimes for the first time, because they're insecure. And I mean that with compassion and with sympathy, because they're insecure, especially when they come into this place and they automatically start kind of judging what other people are doing, or they judge themselves to us and what we're able to do. That you get kind of this defensive tactic of, hey, I'm not you. This is an often phrase we often hear. I'm not you guys. I don't work in the gym, so I don't work out all day. And when you've done this for as long as we have, you understand the tone and what that really means, and you understand the defensiveness that's coming with it, and the judgment they think is being cast upon them from us or the people here, which it is not. But you get that, and you have to meet that with a little bit more confidence and understanding, if you're the recipient of it, and hearing that and understanding, like, hey man, like that's not true. And what really, really kind of gets people off guard when they come at us with that approach is that we don't sit here and work out all day. That this is a business. So like, people don't come in through the door from us just sitting here doing pull-ups all day. And you don't run a business successfully for almost 6 years by just working out. Like, it's a full functioning business. Like I said, like, we're the HR department, we're the marketing team, we're the advertising team. There's a lot of things we do. And when they find out what little we do as far as what we do physically for ourselves, that really, really has people step back and look at the decisions, because it's easy to dismiss something you don't know when it comes to working out, especially when you hit this age of 40. It's easy to dismiss it and think, oh, okay, it's a 10 exercise routine done 4 to 5 times a day at this intensity or whatever it may be. When that is your thought process, when that is what you think it is, it's easy not to judge yourself on your own behavior, because like, oh, it's too much. And when they find out that the bulk of our workouts, myself and DALECO included, is nothing but, most of the time, it's 3 to 4 exercises long. Sometimes it's 2 days a week. Sometimes it's 3 days a week. Depends. Sometimes it's 1 day a week. So when you find out what little it is that we do to keep ourselves in shape, now it has to go back to looking at yourself in the mirror and being like, man, that's very doable. I don't really have an excuse, because it's not going to be time. It's not going to be volume. It's not going to be intensity. It's not going to be those things. And what's sitting on the other side of me taking better care of myself, because it's so important that you understand the control that you have as you get older. Because once you give up control of your own vitality and your own attempt to make yourself well, when you give that up, the other side of that is not good. You know, like you start to acquire health insurance bills. You may have to get new health insurance because now you have a disease or a sickness or an ailment or an injury that gave you a message early on in life. And then now it is blown up to something bigger that you don't have control over. Now you're in the hospital. Now you're at the hands of doctors and nurses. Thankfully, if you get to those people, but now like your choices are not as much, and you may be under 45, and it doesn't need to be that way. Your vitality might be on the other side of making better decisions at the grocery store, and not being able to blame age. Again, that puts the blame on you, and it's not a fun place to be. But if you can understand the benefit of taking the blame and taking the accountability, that gives you the control. Like that's what you want, and you have control over this. Like we don't really do that much. My workouts are maybe 2, sometimes 3 exercises long, and done just repetitively, and done like once or twice a week, and that is it. Everything else, as far as sleep, stress, and eating, and all those other things, like all kind of are contributors to that, big contributors to the success of the physical side. And when you want to lay those things out to people, because that's just not how it's highlighted now in the marketing and advertising, you're looking at people who look like, man, you look at their list, their regimen that they're doing, you're like, that seems impossible to do. And it may be, depending on who you're looking at. If you're looking at a 20-year-old who doesn't have kids, and like their job, their passion, their influence, their social play are all in one location, that's a lot different than you that may have to drive to 4 or 5 different spots in the day to accomplish those things. So we like to highlight those things, and I like to highlight those things, that like I'm a 40-year-old man, and like well within control of taking care of myself, provided no injuries or no unfortunate event happens to me, but within my control. And what I'm holding myself accountable for, other people in my age bracket up can do the same thing. And you want it to be that way. It needs to be that way if you plan on being vital, if you plan on being well as you age.